People have been obsessed with fast food burgers for more than a century now. Ever since White Castle introduced their quick service burgers, we got hooked on their deliciousness. Since that time, there have been numerous fast food burger joints that have hit the scene. Some, like McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's, have gotten super huge, while others have completely disappeared. In this video, we will take a look at some of the burger chains we want back. Burger Chef was founded in 1957, and in its time it became a true fast food giant. It was started by two brothers named Frank and Donald Thomas, and the pair took their Indianapolis-based brand to a whole new level thanks to some of their innovations. They used a patented flame broiler, automated milkshake machines, soft-serve ice cream machines, and fast food's first kids meal that bundled food and toys. The burger chain saw a lot of growth through the 1960s and 70s. By 1968, they had around 600 restaurants, and by 1972, they had more than 1,200 locations across the U.S. That number was only surpassed by McDonald's, who had 1,600 locations in 1972. But by the late 1970s, the brand was starting to feel the pressure from growing competition. The chain's idea of offering kids' meal with toys was being copied by giants like Burger King and McDonald's. Hardee's acquired Burger Chef in 1981 for $44 million and immediately started rebranding most of the restaurants. The final Burger Chef, located in Cookeville, Tennessee, closed for good in 1996. In the 1950s, drive-ins were super popular. The Bressler's Ice Cream Company, which was a Chicago-based chain selling 33 flavors of ice cream, wanted in on the fast food action. Henry's Hamburger started as that fast food offshoot in 1954. Originally, it was only intended to boost the sales of malts and ice cream, but the burgers took on a life of their own. By the mid-1960s, the chain had expanded to over 200 restaurants from coast to coast, and at one point they were bigger than McDonald's. Henry's was known for its 15-cent burgers, or 10 for a buck, fresh hot fries, and an orange soda that was the best in town. This beloved burger chain is now gone, but there is still one Henry's Hamburger location that is operating in Benton Harbor, Michigan. Before McDonald's took over America and the world, Sandy's Drive-In was the hotspot for classic burgers. In 1956, the first location was open, and within 10 years they expanded to 121 restaurants across 5 states. Despite their success, Sandy's Drive-Ins were bought out, and the majority of the locations were taken over by Hardee's, which was on the rise. The last Sandy's restaurant closed in 1979 and was located in Iowa, and it too became a Hardee's. Jerry's Hamburgers was a fast food chain that began in 1962 and opened in northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. One of the original owners of Jerry's was a former vice president for McDonald's, and that's why they were modeled after the early McDonald's style. The cartoon icon they used was very similar to Mr. Speedy that was used by McDonald's, and it was even closer to Mayor McCheese. By 1980, there were at least 14 Jerry's locations, but in 1981, the Jerry's Corporation folded. However, several stores continued to operate independently. The last Jerry's was in Wisconsin and closed in 1999. There was an attempt to revive the brand in 2002, but it failed. Dee's Drive-In was a fast food burger chain that was started by D. Anderson in 1932 and was based in Utah. His popular burgers originally sold for only 5 cents each. At their height, they had about 53 restaurants. In 1982, Dee's sold the business to Hardee's, but about a dozen Dee's family restaurants, which were sort of a spin-off, continued to operate. Today, there are still a handful that are in operation. Royal Castle was a Miami-based burger chain that was founded in 1938 by William Singer. They became known for their birch beer beverage and their hamburgers, which were similar to White Castle's. They eventually grew to 175 locations located in Florida, Georgia, Ohio, and Louisiana. In 1969, Royal Castle was acquired by the Performance Systems, who were actively creating the Mini Pearls chicken. By the mid-70s, Royal Castle was in trouble and they were forced to liquidate all company's assets. Fortunately, there is still one Royal Castle hamburger restaurant that is open in Miami, Florida. So if you haven't tried it, you can still make the trek there and give it a taste. Carol's Hamburgers began in 1960. They were an offshoot of the Tasty Freeze company and named after the Tasty Freeze co-owner Leo Moranza's daughter Carol. The chain continued to expand in the New York area and eventually peaked with 120 locations by the late 1960s. In 1975, most of the locations were converted into Burger King franchises. Carol's Restaurant Group owned and operated more than 1,000 Burger King locations across the U.S. In 2024, they were acquired by the Restaurant Brands International. AllAmerican Burger was established in 1963 by Aaron Binder in Los Angeles. By 1970, he had 4 locations, but in 1981, the chain filed for bankruptcy. One of the restaurants appeared in the 1982 film Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but it did not help Binder's misfortunes. He was found guilty of fraud stemming from a shelter investment scheme and sent to prison for 10 years. Binder wound up serving 42 months. AllAmerican Burger kept going until 2010 when the last remaining location was closed. Mr. Fables was a cafeteria-style family restaurant chain that was located throughout western Michigan. It had its roots in the QP beef burger stand that was started by Gerald Boyles in 1929. His son, John Boyles, and nephew Dick Faber purchased Gerald's business in 1963. The cousins then renamed their business Fables, which was a combination of their last names. Together, they became well known for their olive burgers as well as their secret recipes for hamburger dressing and onion ring batter. At its peak, the chain had 17 locations. In 1988, the cousins sold the chain and secret recipes to Colonel Chicken Inc., hoping that it would continue to grow. By the late 90s, it could not compete with national chains, and the last location closed for good in 2000. Doggy Diner was a fast food restaurant chain that began in 1948 in Oakland, California. They were known for their hot dogs and hamburgers, and they eventually grew to 30 locations around the San Francisco Bay Area. The chain had a catchy advertising jingle, "Doggy Diner, nothing finer. Doggy Diner, it's doggone good." Unfortunately, the Doggy Diner chain went out of business in 1986 after trying to compete with larger burger chains. The brand name was revived for hot dog sales at Oracle Park, the home of the San Francisco Giants. Ginos Hamburgers was founded in 1957 by NFL Hall of Famer Gino Marchetti. This burger chain became a regional powerhouse throughout the 1960s in the Mid-Atlantic. They became known for menu options like the Gino Giant, which was a predecessor to the McDonald's Big Mac. Ginos also offered family deals like a meal for 5 priced at $1.75, which made it a popular family destination. By 1972, the chain had grown to 330 locations, but their success did not last long. In the 1980s, Marriott purchased Ginos and merged it with their existing Roy Rogers brand. A new version of Ginos called Ginos Burgers and Chicken opened in 2010 with a new menu, and there are still 2 Ginos locations operating in Maryland today. Red Barn began in Springfield, Ohio in 1961. They became the home of the Big Barney and the Barnbuster Burgers, as well as the first self-service salad bar in fast food. The chain had more than 300 restaurants across 19 states and international markets in Canada and Australia. Red Barn changed ownership several times during its relatively short life, which eventually caused its downfall. When it fell into the hands of City Investing Company thanks to a merger in 1978, priorities and resources were shifted away from the burger business and put into real estate ventures. By 1988, the chain was completely gone. White Tower Hamburgers was a chain that was founded in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in 1926. This was just 5 years after White Castle was established in Wichita, Kansas. White Tower appeared to be copying everything that White Castle did, from their castle-like buildings to their menu. In 1929, White Castle sued White Tower for their similarities, and the case ended in their favor in 1930. White Tower countersued in 1929, but their case dragged on until 1934. It was revealed that White Tower hired a White Castle location operator and was doing some photography on the latest White Castle in order to keep up with their design. These lawsuits led to White Tower going with more of an Art Deco look, and the two stayed away from each other from that point on. In the mid-1950s, the White Tower chain peaked at 230 stores in several states. Many of the locations featured curb service and car hops. The chain specialized in having restaurant locations in major cities near train and trolley stops. When people began migrating out to suburban areas, it caused the demise of the chain. The company's trademark expired in 2005. The last restaurant in Toledo, Ohio closed in 2022 due to a fire. The White Castle chain is still going strong with 345 locations across 13 states. Over the years, burgers have only gotten bigger. People have a never-ending hunger for the hamburger, and this has led to more growth for fast food restaurants. At the same time, it has made the competition fierce, and unfortunately, it has forced the closure of some great burger chains. Can you think of any others that we miss? Or perhaps you would like to share some of your memories at one of these burger chains. If so, please let us know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching.